Hello, this is Kylie J.N.S, and I want to give an update and formally address people who were concerned for me or people who actually care about me, because it's obvious. The week of August 20th, I was going through a lot mentally and spiritually, and things started to just sort of go haywire. And it had to do with my roommate, who happens to be like my landlord, the guy I was living with. I lived with someone who worked for a hospital in a mental health space, and the other person I lived with was law enforcement. So when I ended up going through what I went through, I ended up being 1013 by said landlord, and ended up in one of those mental hygiene facilities. And what's funny is when I actually got there, there was a Muslim who I met at the facility. And I think this was like my second week there, but he literally walked up to me and said, "Did they send you here to be reprogrammed too?" And we both bursted out laughing, because that was such a random thing to say to someone that you do not know, right? It's like, yeah. So we made a joke about that, and I'm like, wow, that's such a odd thing to say, but nonetheless. The day that I expressed to my landlord that I wanted to move out, I didn't like I just didn't like the surveillance cameras out front. It was just a lot of things that was just like, was a lot going on. That was the day I ended up in the hospital that he worked at. And he's a mental health therapist. So, yeah. He 1013 me after sending the threats that he would do it. And after expressing in a recorded conversation that we had that I would hate to be lined up, as people actually labeling me, a certain way, or labeling me unstable because of spiritual intuitive gifts is pretty much what we were talking about. And he said that he would never do that, and that I can trust him and all this stuff. So, how those things go. But obviously this whole thing is a lot deeper than what I could ever really express publicly. Obviously, for the sake of my own vulnerability and just getting out of the hospital, I will not be discussing some of the things that I said previously, because it is a private matter. But I do want to say something because it all spilled out on my social media page. So obviously, I think that's fair to say something. You just can't to say nothing. But I do also want to take this time. Oh, my phone just made that sound. Let me turn my phone so you don't hear beeping constantly in the video. But I do want to say that I want to take some time in this video to discuss new directions that I want to take, like old directions that I had took in the past, my mental state and activities. But I first off want to say, for the record, that I am 100% sane. I have all of my mental faculties in place. If anything, they're even more sharpened, because it just seems like there's this apparatus trying to put a label on me. I hear no voices. I have no paranoia. I have no suspicions. I have no thoughts of self-harm. I have no desires to hurt anyone. I am not suicidal. So I feel like I have to say this. I feel like let me just get this on the record, because I definitely was thrown for a loop, with everything that happened the week of August 20th. It was a lot going on. But I do want to say for the record that I am a shaman. I am a high priestess. I'm an ordained minister. I'm a scholar. I'm a writer and an entrepreneur. So that's what I am, nothing less. And I have spiritual intuitive gifts, which consist of downloads from the dream state and numerology. So it's when you're in theta state, when you're sleeping, I get dreams. I think everyone gets dreams. And numerology is a metaphysical science. So I think that that's fair to say without me being labeled anything. But when I was in Grady Hospital, I was treated like crap. And I remember everything for the most part. I was not unconscious. I was resting my eyes a lot because I was like sleepy, but I pretty much remember everything. And then when I was transferred, that hospital was okay, but it did appear that it was my doctor had this agenda with me in particular, and I'm not sure, it could have been racism. I don't know what the fuck that was about. But I got close to requesting a new doctor after like I was realized I was threatened with a 10/20 if I did not take, like medication and stuff. So I was just like, yeah, I think I should request a new doctor because I've been in here way too long and I'm completely stabilized. I've been stabilized. So I'm like, what is going on here? But when I requested a new doctor, that's when I was shortly discharged. Like I want to say like, was that Wednesday? And I was gone that Friday after that from the hospital, because to me, and I would say like there was a lot of people in there that were asking like, what are you doing in here? Like it just seems so random. It just wasn't mathing, because obviously I have a very calm demeanor. I'm a very calm, collected person. So it was a lot to just be stuck in some place where nothing's actually wrong with you. But I was being lined up by my landlord, and that's truly what I felt. Well, he was my landlord. So no, I won't be speaking on anything because it's not like the public's going to do anything. It's not worth going on a dummy mission. So I want to address that and just leave it at that. But I do want to say, after being in like in a facility for mental hygiene, is that if you think everyone that's in those type of facilities are in there because they deserve it, or if you think like everyone that is in there is actually crazy, then it's a naivete there. Then you're the one that could be out of your mind if you actually think something like that. When I was in there, I met some incredibly brilliant people. And I really did. Like it was interesting. Because with me, I'm always an observer, and so having to be like a participant observationist within that facility was like interesting. From my background in sociology, so like from that point of view, it was interesting, like observing people. But at the same time, I was obviously freaking out because I'm like, I need to get out of here. Yeah, there were some incredibly brilliant people in there that got 10/13 by people they pissed off. Or people who were like former military who just knew too much. There was 2 songwriters in there that pissed off the wrong person in the industry. And they told me there that Muslim guy I was telling you about, he was one of the ones that he writes songs. And he was the one that was in there saying that they sent me here to be reprogrammed. And I'm looking at him like, what are you talking about? Like, and he asked me if I was there to be reprogrammed, and that really had threw me for a loop. But yeah, shit can get real, man. Life is real. And there was another lady in there. She threatened to sue her doctor with her attorney. She was like, I'm gonna sue you, whatever. And she was an odd lady, but she wasn't crazy though. And lo and behold, she ended up in that facility. So I do want to say that there are some people that, that legitimately, that I saw needed to be there. Like, straight up, like, they needed to care. For real. And there was one guy, overcoming an addiction. And I don't even know. I can't even say overcoming addiction, because he told me the day that he got out that his first plan was to go and, so I don't know what that was about. I'm not saying nobody's name, so nobody have to worry about that. But I just saw some interesting things. That's all I gotta say. As far as the people that worked there were only Africans and Caribbeans that worked there. Like they were there. So that was interesting. They were nice to me. There were many that were nice to me. I'm pretty sure I was aggravating because I was thinking like, I need to see some handbooks, some employee handbooks. I need to talk with someone. I was just like, I need to talk with a supervisor. I was just like, I gotta get out of here. But they were really nice to me. And one of the ladies actually knew my pen name. Everyone knows my pen name is J.N.S. And so she said, she called me Kali instead of Jenny. By accident. I don't know if it was accident. I don't know what that was about. So apparently some of them had been perusing the internet, or had already knew who I was. Maybe I don't know. I mean, I'm not that big of a figure or anything. So that was like, wow. So enough about that. I am fine. I moved out of my place. I am back. I'm feeling so much better. So and lastly, I do want to say this. I want to thank anyone who checked up on me and called or text. When I got my phone back, that's when I seen all the missed calls and stuff. So I was in the hospital, so I couldn't respond. I didn't even have my phone on me. Like, I had nothing on me. Like, dude. So that was just crazy. So I was not able to get back in touch with anybody. So my best friend, who I've literally known since I was 8 years old, like literally, I'm 30 years old right now. We've known each other since we were 8 years old. So that's a long time to be knowing a motherfucker. She was given permission to speak on my behalf. That's literally like somebody I know for a long damn time. And, it count on one hand the amount of times like we actually like had an argument and stuff. So, we've been pretty consistent with one another. And, we just people that are genuine. But anyways, she was speaking on like mainly my Facebook page. So that was a lot. But I do want to say, if I offended people that I love and respect, and that truly love me back, and they were there for me, I do want to apologize formally and sincerely, because when I was going through what I was going through, I felt like I couldn't trust anybody, to be honest. So I levied some heavy accusations against people. 2 people received apologies from me. If you did not receive an apology, then you know how I feel about you. Yeah, I apologize to my dad too. So that's 3 people. So that's all I'm gonna say about the situation. And it's as simple as that, because I can't go on no dummy mission for people. That's like, that's just not how this thing work. You know what I mean? Especially after what I've went through, and I seen how your ass can get lined up real quick. So it's not worth it. So that's the end of that. I will not be addressing that anymore. In terms of the future directions that I really want to talk about, we're going to get into building enterprise architecture. I'll explain to you like what this term means and like where it comes from and whatnot. But for Black Americans, we're going to be building that using a very systems approach. So I'll be building out some frameworks that seem mechanic, but once they're built, Black Americans with their ingenuity and creativity can implement the frameworks in however way they want to, as long as shit gets built. So I remember I was discussing with a friend. Well, he's, I don't know, friend, you lose that very, very, very loosely these days. We were talking about a systems approach and what that would mean, like as people are actually building stuff. And he was asking like, well, will we be able to like listen to music and dance? What do we want to dance while we build? Then do that, but long as the framework is followed. It's like, do whatever you want. Like, and then he was like, well, what if I don't want to follow the framework? Well, then you have to be structured in your building, if anything. So there has to be some structure. So if you don't like the structure that I may talk about, then perhaps there's something out there that has some structure in it that you're going to have to follow, but you're going to have some sort of framework, a model. You have to have a model. And then whatever you do within that model, if you want to listen to music while you're carrying out the model, then do that. If you want to dance while you're carrying out the model, then do that. But there has to be something there where it's like, let's test it and try it. Let's evaluate it. Let's assess it. And then see if it works. And if not, then we add to it. We take out, in a form of like a formal evaluation or something. But like I'm dead ass serious like about this. Like I'm dead ass serious about this enterprise architecture. So and the reason why you want that systems approach is because it's a model to know how to build for yourself and then to be self-determined. And I obviously am going to be doing that through the Nakhti Queen Mothership and the Nakhti philosophy. And I told you guys that I was writing a part 2 of the Nakhti Queen Mothership that would be solely on that enterprise architecture for Black Americans, for men and the women, for community building. So, you think about it, we are building a temple. We're building not only the temple within, but we're building literal constructions of education and community and food and living, etc., etc. Because we have to do this, right? We have to have some logical frameworks involved because I need you to wake up to see who you truly are, you know. And I'm not trying to get all mushy and deep. You know, I'm always a deep person. I'm more like soul food. I'm not fast food. So if you listen to me, you got to be ready to digest some heavy shit. You know, you got to be ready to digest some heavy food. Some turkey, some black eyed peas and neck bone, lima beans. You got to be ready to digest it. You got to, it's heavy, you know. But I want you to see who you truly are. Like, yeah, it's frustrating knowing things and seeing things, but then you don't want to freak people out if you say certain things too soon. You can't say everything, and then it's like, you know, people are not ready. You have that aspect of it. People just not motherfucking ready. I think the people who would vibe with me would be ready. You know, they just like let it out, let it be ready, you know. And that's honestly the type of residents I'm looking for. But enough about that. I am also still writing that encyclopedia. The deadline for that is pushed because I'm doing a little too much at once. Sometimes, you know, I don't know. I don't feel like I bit off more than I could chew, because I did take a step back after everything that happened. Obviously, I need some mental rest. I need rest. But I'm going to need a team to help put some of these things together that I'm trying to do, in addition to building Nakhti University. You guys know I started a Black American Research and Cultural and Policy Center, and then the Center for Sexual Health and Family Planning for Black Americans. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make separate videos detailing the goals and objectives for those centers. But the general aims is to increase the quality of life. The general aim of both centers is to increase the quality of life for the Black American on planet Earth while they're still here. And the goal of the Center for Sexual Health and Family Planning is to restore the nuclear family. So it's the idea of balance and one man, one woman, one child, that balance of Ma'at. That is something that is a great concern to me via the Nakhti Queen Mothership. So that's how we'll be building that out. And then lastly, we want to teach Black Americans to reprogram their subconscious mind with content that they want to help them produce the realities that you desire, that they want. But first you have to transmute the pain to the content that can work for you. You have to transmute from one state of consciousness to the next. And there's a way to do that, and I talk about that. One of those ways is via shadow work. There's meditation, there's transcendental meditation, there's other ways to do that. But these frameworks and centers that I'm building are based on the Nakhti philosophy book and Queen Mothership tenets that were in the first book. You know, so it's all there. It's not like I'm hiding anything or that I'm not transparent with, you know, like what are your aims and objectives of all this shit. It's very simple stuff. It's not rocket science. Increase the quality of life of the Black American, as well. Obviously, that's myself. And a lot of the things that I'm doing, you may think it's altruistic, and it is. There's some altruistic ideologies in it, but a lot of that stuff is projection of what I do for myself and what I want for myself. And it's a way to give back to the world through that self-actualization. So it's a self-actualization that's taking place, and what you see or what's coming out is mere projection. A lot of people project it. People project everything, you know, like that's just the nature of man. So if you're conscious of that, then you can project the things that inadvertently or advertently help you in your quest to be of service to the world in a humanitarian sense. So that's pretty much all it is. And it end up coming out altruistic, then that's fine. But all in all, one has to help themselves too. You cannot help anybody until you help yourself. So all of these things, everything that I do serves me. And I talk about that in the Queen Mothership book with Black women in particular, because I get a lot of slack from a lot of the women I used to roll with in BWE, because it's like, are you being a mule or whatever? No, these things serve me. Everything that I'm doing serves me. And it just so happens that there are people that it can serve as well. So it's like we're on the resonance, we're on the same frequency. So that's pretty cool, and that's all it is, you know. The last thing I want to talk about, the last thing I want to talk about. I have some shungite water, and this was actually, I had to prepare it a certain way, and you know, it has to sit. The shungite has to sit like 8 hours or some shit, and then you drink it, and it has fullerenes and carbon and obviously minerals. But yeah, so I've been drinking that, and for today, just all in all, getting back to myself. You know, I'm a builder, and you know, I have put out the date I was born and some information, a little more information about me, because I felt like there was no record of who I actually am, and I'm one and the same person in terms of my pen name and Jenny. So if you look at, you know, I know people, they look at people's life path and they look at the dates that people are born. I'm born on the 22nd. My life path is 8. I have a bunch of 7s and 11s in my gematria. So somebody that's born on the 22nd, they think they like to build shit. They think they the great architect. I have a life path number 8. You know, so go figure. So I'm doing nothing more. And if you look at my natal chart, it's like scary. It's like before I knew what was in my natal chart, I was doing everything that's in the chart before I knew about a natal chart. So that's creepy. It begs the question of free will. It brings into question the philosophy of free will again. For me, a lot of people, I'm not saying you have it or you don't have it. I'm personally just like, well, I remember there was like huge philosophy debates about that years ago when I was like 22 years. No, I was younger than that. I was like 20 years old. Yeah, because I remember like they were even like hosting events about the free will debate. And I'm looking at this stuff, and I'm looking like, you know, all of this gematria and the natal charts and the numerology, you know, all that stuff. And it's like, this free will thing, I need to discuss it again. Like, I need to go back and research this stuff again. And you guys have to, you know, understand that this is just the way my mind works. If you guys know anything about that, hit me up, because I'm like, how does one reconcile that? How does one reconcile that? Is that just a science of the stars, and it can play or not play, or you cannot live up to your potential? Or is this idea of the free will, did you come up with that contract, or in terms of your natal chart, before you ascended into a human body? Like, if you were in a spiritual realm, did you come up with that on your own, as far as the science of the stars, that you were gonna do this and do that by a certain date, and do this and do that by in your chart? You know, like, is that how it works? Or like, who's designing these? Like, I need some answers. So I'm really just like, because even if you do have your natal chart and you see how things have played out in your life within that chart, how did it get like that? You know, even if you study my last name, the last names of my families for like several generations back, like, oh, let's not get into the genealogy. It's like the genealogy plus the natal chart plus you know, certain other modalities that one can know. You know, it's mind blowing. It is mind blowing. The gematria is like, nah, this gotta be some other type shit. It really just begs the question of free will, brings up a lot of other running thoughts in my head, and so that is what it is. So enough about that. I also want to talk about like this idea of having these Nakhti tent revival cookouts. Like, they're like tent revivals for spiritual awakening, but it's a cookout, you know, and where we come together as Black Americans for a weekend of fun and community. Like, we gonna have some fun, and we gonna have some deep community building on a spiritual level. So ideally, we would have like a workshop for family planning and sexual health. You know, then we have a mini conference, like these mini conferences about things pertinent to the community. You know, and it would all be like a tent revival style somewhere in the South, where it's nice, juicy, and hot. You know what I mean? For instance, like one of the mini conferences would obviously be about reparations or restitution. Or then you would have the community gardening, something about community gardening, how we get that up. Then we have something about like tiny homes and affordable housing for low income, or we don't even have to do it for low income. We could just do affordable tiny homes, affordable housing for tiny homes, or some shit like that. How do you say that? I didn't say that right. Tiny homes for affordable housing. Yeah, we'll word it that way. We can talk about that. We can talk about. I want to have something for Black men. Where they have something for them as well. The one for women though, for Black women, I need to take a lot of time to put that together. For Black men, and people, I'll get some slack for saying this, but it is what it is. Their needs are quite simple. In terms of, we know they need carpentry. We know they need ideas of something with self-defense. We know they need the things that pertain to building with the hands, things that pertain to getting their self-autonomy. Yes, the women need that too. And we already are doing these things. And I would argue within that system that you may have quite a bit more access to building apparatuses, perhaps. And I could be wrong on that, and I'm willing to admit that. But what I'm seeing is that the things that require building civilization, for some reason in my mind, that it's easier for me to put together, and that's obviously things that men build. I'm not a man, but men build. So me having that 22 architect number in that's where that comes from. So I can see things in that easier than the more light stuff for the things that women would need, and I can do that too. But I'll say that the conference for Black women would need a lot more planning on my part to take on, because I have to find some thorough women. You can have other women run things too, so it's like we could probably get like Jewel Program, and like I just have to. I need some elders. Like I would have to go and look for these women that I need that to put that together. And that's how I see it. But then as far as like the Black man conference, there would be Black men leading that. I would not be running that, obviously. They would have to host that conference. But one of the things, obviously that I would like to see is a workshop on legal self-defense. So how they can arm themselves legally, and how they can even get into like some of the martial arts, the various martial art forms. To have a conference on that. And then we can have someone give some sort of like karate mini lesson to understand the basic forms of self-defense. And then we have the carpentry. Carpentry is very big to me, because that's if you know carpentry, you can build you a home, you can build you some furniture, you can build you shelters, drawers, chairs, couch. Maybe you can do a couch, but I know you can do chairs. You can do mad shit with the carpentry skills. So I want to get into more emphasizing those vocational skills like the carpentry, and then a prepping doomsday class. Like I like I'm a prepper. I would be considered a prepper and a minimalist. But I'd be thinking of like, survival and doomsday prepping, like how to make your filter using things outside. Like you can make a real good filter that can filter chlorine and bromide, mad shit. If you just go outside, and you can obviously you can make your own activated charcoal with wood, but you can use even gravel and even certain moss out there to make a water filter, that will actually legitimately clean your water. So those are things I think about. You can also use the transpiration method to collect water, just using a plastic bag in the sun. And obviously you can use, you have to make sure that the leaves are not poisonous, but you would take a plastic bag and you would go where it's real hot, where the sun shines on the leaves. Typically some leaves that you can eat and that cannot be poisonous, but you put that bag around those leaves and you tie it real tight. You have to tie it real tight around there, and those leaves will release the condensation like a sweat. And it will be fresh H2O. By the you leave, but you got to put it in the sun though. And you can do that. Imagine if you have multiple bags. You know, imagine if you can scale that by coming up with an invention to obtain water that way. A transpiration method of getting water. I think a black man already had come up with, not that, but he come up with, obviously, running an engine on water. But there was another invention about water he was able to do something with the water, and I think they ended up sabotaging that invention. Yeah, but I'll be thinking of shit like that constantly. I think of, obviously, how do you stay warm when it's cold if you're outside stranded and shit like that. So I probably would do a lot with that survival class, and that probably just be for both. That probably won't just be for black men. That probably be just for black people, period. That's gonna be that survival and doomsday prepping class. That's gonna probably be for everybody, even the kids, because that is very, very important given our vulnerable situation for those. I mean, unless you know those, there are many people who are doing well off, and obviously I'm not talking, but even if you are doing well off, you still need to know basic survival skills off nature, because anybody can just come and take your shit and come and get you. So you need to, I would say, regardless of class, one needs to absolutely know how to build an A-frame shelter, the basics, A-frame shelter, starting fire, or even having some flint somewhere in the house. So yeah, if you don't feel like being bothered with the fire, you can have a flint. There's fire starters. Like I collect all these things. Like, instead of, you know, I guess what other people interest would be, you know, with like, say, like designer clothes or some shit like that. Like, my interest would be stocking up. Okay, like seeds. Like my landlord threw all my seeds away, but I had like 500,000 seeds of just different foods that you can think of. I also had like I got a bunch of I got a bunch of dry freeze food that lasts 35 years. Vegetables, fruits, you know, that's dry freeze. That you freeze dry, obviously, and freeze dry method can keep your food for a long time. You know, 35 years and shit. Like, I got oats that last that long, rice, 100-pound bags of rice and shit like that. Like, I'm just one of them people, you know. And I don't say that because, because when shit get real, people will try to just come and take your stuff. But I just say that to say that that's just a hobby. It's something that I enjoy doing. So, but I also see the necessity. I see the absolute necessity for that, and just having something basic and just having a conference on that for our people, that could really help them in times where, and I'm put resources on there that, like, the coordinates of your spring water in your hometown, like shit like that, where we teach people where to go and get them coordinates, and where we teach people like what are some things they can do to stay warm if they ever, like, remember that situation in Houston where they had that it was like an ice storm. It was like a crazy storm that they had. I remember people who were well off telling me that when they shit was off, they didn't know how to start no fires, and like some people, they broke the woods off of their doors. They broke the woods off of their doors to try to get fire, but other people were scared to do that because it's illegal to do a fire in Houston, to do a fire in your backyard or some shit like that. So some of the people was sitting in the cold in a house freezing, straight up freezing, and it's like, there are emergency candles that you can buy that will heat your ass inside of your home. You don't even need to take them outside. They can be inside home. They're the foil blankets. Remember them foil blankets that trap your heat? And add them charcoal. They got these charcoal gloves, that once they're exposed to air, they heat up. They got the socks. They got the gloves. They got the coat with the charcoal that you can put in that shit. You got to buy them charcoal. Like, I keep that shit on deck. Like, buy that shit. And that way, you always got heat. You don't have to worry about something as simple as heat. You don't have to worry about the same thing when it gets cold, and now you have to worry about solar power, getting a solar generator and shit like that. But all that stuff comes with time, and it's a process, because I'm like in the beginning stages of my stuff, because I got into this when I was 27 years old, 27, 28. Yeah, so it's not even been that long of me in that, in that hobby or in the prepping community. So yeah, that's one conference I want to do. So we do the Black Men Conference, then we do once I get some time to work out the Black Women Conference, they'll have both eventually at the tent revival, and then I'll do a lecture, or either a lecture or a sermon depending on the context. I am an ordained minister, so I can do probably a sermon or a lecture. I don't know, but I'll work on that. And then we have the cookout. The cookout. Spades. I love spades. We got to play some spades. Board games, because not everybody is a fan of spades. We got to have some board games. Connect Four is my favorite. I really think I'm decent at Connect Four. I think I'm amazing at Connect Four, actually. And I was thinking, we could do the water guns. We could have some water guns. Again, this is a Nakhti tent revival cookout. So imagine, a tent revival back in them days, like with the Pentecostal tent revivals and stuff like that. But it won't be religious based, but it'll have the same aim of this awakening of us coming together to have some fun and to have some communion with one another. So it'd be very spiritual in that sense, but no one has to ascribe to any religion or anything like that. You know what I mean? And, we can even do, like I said, the face painting for the kids, water guns. That would be real fun. Grilling, and just overall relaxation. They even have, this thing where you can rent, masseuses and give mini massages. But we would have to raise the money for that. But basically, there was de-stress events that used to be at my school, and they would hire a masseuse to give these massages in the chair. You won't be laying down on your bed or nothing, but it's these chairs that they get out, massage chair or whatever. And you sit your head forward in that. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. That you sit your head forward in that thing, and you get a massage. But I think that if we could take a year to put something nice together, I'm a very private person, so I don't need, it could be real small. I don't care if it's 20 motherfuckers there. That's not, the thing is, I want to build frameworks with like-minded people, with people that we just completely on the same brainwave. We completely on the same resonance, or someone who's curious and attempting to raise their vibration, because that's what this is really all about, and we take a year to just put something nice together, and we want it in the summer on a weekend with no rain, because it's going to be multiple days. So these conferences, that's a weekend to even just put the conference together. Then, you have to have a DJ for the music and shit, I actually just want to have some fun, and I'm dead ass serious about this cookout. This is going to be you could call it the Oasis of Love, or the Oasis of Love and Enlightenment for Black Americans. Something real deep, but not too heavy, because again, this is about coming together, because the work that I do is so serious, and a lot of us are doing serious ass work for our community and for whatever interest even if it's not for the community, it's just a lot of work that we do, and we need some time to just relax. We need some time. Yeah, it'd be a little education, and the workshop's going to serve as the education and stuff, but we just want some time to relax. To be honest, I ain't even going to hold you. It will be more cookout and spades playing. That's probably going to last longer than them conferences, because the conference is only what? Obviously it's multiple days, but in terms of the presentations themselves, I gotta really look that up to see how long would such a presentation. I'm thinking an hour per workshop, an hour and a half per workshop, maybe. You know what I mean? So I think that we can have a nice cookout. Contrary to popular belief, I am very easygoing. I have a type A personality, so that obviously means I'm extremely structured, but other than that, I'm very chill. Like, I'm very non-judgmental. Like, people be thinking that they have to act a certain way around me, and I'm like, no, you can dance, you can let loose. But my thing is zero violence, and you will be pat down. We will have security. We cannot have any arguing and fussing at this cookout. So you getting pat down by the security, making sure that you ain't got no weapons, you don't got nothing crazy on you daily. Like I don't know if you can rent one of them metal things that you just walk on through, because you want to respect people's privacy if they don't want to get pat down or whatever. But them purses, ladies, everything's getting checked. The pockets, because we are here for love. We are not here for violence. So we gotta have good vibes. We eating, we learning, we having a little bit of drink, we have music, we got education. So we're gonna take a year to plan that. I'm even actually probably gonna make a website and with the donate button, so we can put this event together. And I'm gonna put some of my own money up, but you need to show that this is what you care about too, and it's not just fantasy for me. And if it's nothing you care about, then just keep it moving. But I just want to see us having a good time and smiling. Like, we deserve to be out here smiling and having a good time too. Why not? So another thing I want to say is that we're going to be getting very deep on my channel. I'm doing a mini book reading on the latest book that I wrote for Black Americans called Alchemy Reservoir of Black Americans: The Collective Unconscious, Genealogy, and Preserving Ethnicity. That's a heavy book. Y'all gonna love it though. It's so easy to read. You're gonna love it. My mom, she loves that book. She was like, yo, when I read the title, I was kind of looking like, I don't know about like this. Is this gonna be something that I can understand? But it was so easy to understand. She loved it. It's something to make you feel good. It's gonna lift your spirits for sure. And it's deep stuff though too. It's deep, like where you be like, okay, like I see how I can actually contribute to my community. I see the framework, because I put a framework using these pies, like these pie charts, and breaking down like the internalization and externalization of inauspicious content, things that do not serve us, and then how we actually are alchemists in a sense where we transmute the things that the externalized or the internalization, the externalized or the internalized things that we may go through that are inauspicious. We transmute that. We are alchemists and alchemize that to things that are auspicious, things that do serve us individually and collectively. So when you read that, there's like that framework, and I want to say it's in chapter 5 or chapter 6. It's like a colorful circle pie chart. That shit, you read the pie, breaking it down, because I break it down each color. When you read that, you're gonna be like, I like this. Me personally, that's my favorite part, because it gets you active. It gets you thinking of your own personal content that could go on those pies, and how you can be an alchemist and transmute that to things that are auspicious, to things that serve you. You can do it on an individual level, but in the book, I just do the collective. I think about it in a collective sense. Okay, so and then after that, on this channel, I'm going to be covering the Nakhti philosophy. That's a spiritual philosophy that teaches how to alleviate human suffering and how to program your chambers of self. So what are chambers of self? In the book, it says chati of self. That means chart, but it's chambers of self, chart of self. But really, those are the chambers of self consist of your heart and your mind. Content that is within your heart and your mind that you want to see. So you focused on reprogramming your subconscious mind pretty much. And you're doing it through a very technical framework that happens to just be a spiritual science. So it's pretty cool. It's transmuting the content of your heart and mind to manifest the reality that you want, versus running your life on other people's programs, be it your childhood traumas, what you see in the media, schooling, whatever, lack thereof. It's super deep, but it's helpful. And there's our very own meditation in the book too, like the meditation I created called the Gisa Mama meditation, and that just means dark mother, or universe meditation. When you thinking it's steps to that one as well. But you guys will love it. So stay tuned and support my work as much as you can, because I really would like to do this full time. I'm actually not able to. I'm not able to do what I want to do full time for Black Americans. But really, that's where my passion comes from. I would, if I could just write and teach and build, but I'm a little all over the place in that sense, and I don't mind doing this, but I'm just not able to do it full time because I obviously have to take care of myself. But that's my dream goal. So support the books, the store, the school, and everything else, so that I can be in that position to where I can focus on building those centers. I'm focused, but it's like I'm writing a book and I'm doing this school thing, and it's just a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot. I have no complaints, but I just would like to be able to do this 100% full time. Like, this is my job, to develop frameworks for Black Americans, to teach, to run these programs for Black Americans. Like, that's what I want to do. And that it is what it is. So I love y'all, and I'm gonna talk to y'all later.